Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, and this is my March new queer releases vlog. Okay, so this month, while I'm doing this intro, I currently do not have any books on hand, so I don't have anything to hold up for you, unfortunately. I also am still not 100% sure if I'm doing 3 or 4 books this month. It kind of just depends on how much I can get done. I had a really slow start this month because I was out of town for the first week of March, so I only read 1 book in that entire week, which is a lot slower than my usual pace. So my TBR is a little bit up in the air because I have to finish my water vlog, which is already out at this point. You'll know more about it than I do. And then I've got my March reading vlog plus my buzzword prompts, and I guess we'll see if I have time for anything random that I feel like reading. But for now, I have 3 books that I know I'm definitely going to be reading that I already have pre-ordered, and one of them just shipped, so that is very exciting. So first of all, I have Spoiled Milk by Avery Curran. That comes out on March 10th, and that is the first book I'm going to be reading. Let me scoot over so I can put the cover image up here. I am an idiot because I usually wait until the beginning of the month to see if like Aardvark or Book of the Month is going to have any of the new releases that I'm looking at, because it's cheaper to order through there than just to order from like bookshop.org. And I was like, okay, so I definitely want to read Spoiled Milk, and it's marked on here as YA, like it was on like Fable and Storygraph and Goodreads and everything marked as YA. And I was like, I've never seen Aardvark do a YA book, so like I can definitely order this ahead of time. It's not going to matter. And then it turns out that Spoiled Milk is not a YA book. I think maybe people made assumptions or they changed their marketing strategy. I don't really know. But now nothing says YA, and it was one of Aardvark's picks. So yay for wasting $10. So I feel like an idiot for that one. But anyways, this book takes place in the 1920s, and it's at a boarding school. And it has to do with like the spiritualism movement of the time. It's also queer in some way. I don't know a ton about the plot beyond that. I haven't read anything beyond the initial summary from whenever I first heard about this book a couple months ago, and I usually don't reread summaries before I start reading the book, so it's like it'll be a little bit of a surprise for me. So I'm gonna be starting that one soon. That one just shipped today. I'm super excited. Honestly, like 1920s, boarding school, spiritualism, queer. Like I can't imagine 4 words that I'd be more excited about in a book. So I have really, really high hopes, and I'm really, really excited to start. I just had to go on an information seeking mission because I realized I didn't remember the author or the summary of the next book that I am planning to read. The next one is The Beheading Game by Rebecca Lehmann. I'll put the cover here. And now I'm paranoid that it's not actually queer because it's not actually tagged queer on like Storygraph or Fable, and I don't know if it was before, but in the longer version of the summary they do mention something potentially queer, but then on the shorter summary on Goodreads it doesn't at all. So this might be a fail. I don't know. I really want to read it, so fingers crossed that it actually is queer and I'm not queer baiting everyone with my title of new queer releases in March and then reading one book that isn't even queer. Anyways, so this book is about Anne Boleyn. After she gets beheaded, she wakes up, she has her head like wrapped next to her. She sews her head back on and then goes out to seek revenge against Henry VIII. She disguises herself as a commoner and makes friends with a prostitute who, in the longer summary, it says she could be something more. So I was taking that to mean maybe there's a queer relationship happening. And dear God, I hope so, because I already planned this for this vlog and I pre-ordered it, and I don't have a backup plan. I mean, I could make a backup plan. So, we'll see. I mean, I should read it, right? And I should find out and I should tell you if it is queer or not. I mean, either way, I want to read it, but I'm just like, should I be reading it for this specific vlog? I don't know. We will see. But I loved The Other Boleyn Girl and that whole series about Henry VIII's wives by Philippa Gregory. I read those back in high school. I was obsessed with them. So, you know, telling those same stories with a twist, with some speculative aspects, with maybe a queer spin to it. Like, this is totally up my alley. I'm really excited, and I really hope I am not queer baiting you. I'm so sorry. I will let you know. And finally, my third book that I'm going to be reading is Thighs and Prayers by Kat Blackthorne. If you have watched my other videos, you know I've read several of her other books, my favorite being Switch, and Thighs and Prayers I have such high hopes for. I feel like this could dethrone Switch as my favorite Kat Blackthorne romance. This is about some queer nuns, and I think there's like some polyamory, and then there's like a main pairing. Honestly, I don't really remember much about the summary except for like queer nuns, which, like, frankly, that's all I need to know. I'm sold. It doesn't matter what the rest of the summary says, but I'm super excited. If you want to see a bunch of art of queer nuns, definitely go check out her Instagram. There's been a ton of like promo posts for this book, and I'm really hyped. I've had it pre-ordered the longest, and I absolutely cannot wait to tell you all about my experience reading it. I will keep you posted on my plans. I will definitely be reading the 3 that I mentioned, so long as I don't get like confirmation that the Beheading game is definitely not queer. And then I will report back. And the next time I see you, I will be halfway done with Spoiled Milk and hopefully loving it. Okay, so I have some good news and some bad news. I will give you the bad news first. So I initially was going to be reading Thighs and Prayers as part of this new releases reading vlog, but as I was double checking release dates and everything, there's a little bit of a discrepancy on when it's coming out. On Amazon, it says it's coming out April 24th as an ebook, and then on the website, the listing for the signed physical copy still says March 25th, but it's also sold out still. I already pre-ordered it, but they probably just didn't update the listing since it's sold out. If the release date changed, there's no definitive date on her Instagram. So right now I'm not totally sure when it comes out, but regardless, I just noticed also on the listing that it is going to be shipped 4 to 6 weeks after the release date. So either way, I'm not going to be able to read it for this vlog, unfortunately. So upon finding out, I quickly ordered a replacement book. I got Fractured Shadows by Moxie St. Henry. And this came out earlier in the month. This was already out. I forget the date now. This is about a character who goes to Hollowbrook Catholic College, and every 6 years somebody goes missing. And the rumor is that the spirits of those missing people haunt the college. And then I think she meets a ghost woman that maybe she falls in love with. I'm not really sure, but there's a mystery to it. There's Sapphic something. It's dark academia. This sounds totally up my alley, so I will be reading this instead. And now the good news. On my last clip, I said, hopefully next time I see you, I will be partway through Spoiled Milk and loving it. And indeed, I am halfway through Spoiled Milk and loving it. Emily is our main character. She goes to Briarley School for Girls, which is this beautiful old manor house in the countryside of the UK for well-to-do, at least reasonably well-to-do girls to be educated. And her best friend Violet, on her 18th birthday, falls mysteriously off the staircase over the balcony, and she dies. And it's initially seen as an accident, but the main character suspects that it's a murder. So she and her friends, who are all also, they keep saying like, well, they're saying very British things about it that I, as an American, don't understand. Let me see. Upper sixth. The upper sixth. I don't know what that means. I think like senior, I mean, they're like 17 and 18, so seniors in high school, I think. But anyway, so the upper sixth, they start dabbling in spiritualism to try to find out what happened to Violet. Other strange things start happening on campus. Food is going bad. There's another death. So the upper sixth girls all come together to try to find out what is going on, and using what they've learned of spiritualism and seances to try to uncover the mysteries of what's happening at Briarly. So this is so up my alley. It's kind of insane. I love like an isolated campus situation, and this is at a school for girls in the countryside. So it's like dark academia vibes. It also takes place in the 1920s, which is one of my favorite time periods. Just like aesthetically, when I say I enjoy a time period, it is not because of the, injustices that were happening at that time. Don't worry, I understand that I would have been, thrown into a sanitarium or burned at the stake in like pretty much every time period. I understand. I'm just saying aesthetically, I enjoy the 1920s a lot. So I love that. It also is queer. There, are questions about some of the girls' relationships to each other. Plus there's the mystery aspect, also the paranormal aspect. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I read like half of it in like almost just like one night. I'm really loving it. I'm crossing my fingers. This could be a 5-star. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm absolutely loving it. And I will let you know what I think when I'm finished. And then I will start on Fractured Shadows as well. Yes, after I already ordered Fractured Shadows, did I realize that I am now reading 2 dark academia books with mysterious deaths that are potentially paranormal, and also Sapphic. Yes, I did realize that after the fact. So apparently this is just a theme. Last month it was historical gothic novels. This month it's dark academia murder mysteries. I am predictable. That it is what it is, but hopefully you also enjoy things like that, and I can let you know what I think of these books and if you should give them a try too. So I will see you when I'm done with Spoiled Milk. Hello. Okay, we are doing our update now. I am chasing the light in the guest room again. So, okay. I finished Spoiled Milk and I have great news. It was a 5. Very exciting. Honestly, I really needed that this month. I have been having a flop month, so having a 5-star is a breath of fresh air after all of that. I don't feel like I can tell you a whole lot more about this since finishing, most of what happens in the second half of like a horror novel is going to be a spoiler. As I was reading this, I was thinking about A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. It's very much not that, because that is a fantasy YA. This is about teenagers, but it's not a YA, and it's horror, not fantasy. But just the idea of like these girls in this school in a historical setting, and they have like these secret meetings where they come together and with their power they can achieve something. And in that one it's opening a portal, and in this one it is speaking to the dead. So I just have that kind of like secret society, boarding school, girls being powerful even though they don't have power in their situation, but they have power like within them. Love that trope. So this was so much fun. It had a little bit of a queer romance, but it's definitely mainly a horror book, and I loved everything about it. This was so for me. I'm so happy that this met my expectations, even exceeded them, and I'm so pleased. Now I am a little past halfway of Fractured Shadows by Moxie St. James, and I'm having a nice time with it, but I'm not loving it as much as I'd hoped. I think one of the things is that I don't think I like first person present tense that much. I don't have proof of this. Um, but whenever I feel like when I start a book and I have a hard time like getting into the writing, I think a lot of the time it is first person present tense. Like first person past tense is fine. Third person present tense is fine, but something about first person present tense like just doesn't gel with my brain or something. I don't know. Let me know if I'm the only one or if other people have this. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but now I feel like I want to go back and like look at every single book I've ever read and like make statistics about it. But this is about a girl who is out to her father, except he is not accepting of her. And he works at a Catholic college on the East Coast, and she was currently at a college in California, but he transfers her without her knowledge or consent. So she's at this college and she's planning to transfer back, basically. But she has to endure one semester. And she quickly realizes that there are strange things happening. She's exploring the basement in her spare time because she doesn't really know anybody. It seems like even though, like, I went to a Catholic college for 1 year as a freshman, but it wasn't like everyone was actually Catholic. Like, there was a church on campus, but I mean, most of the people that I knew weren't Catholic and didn't go to the church, and like it wasn't a big deal. It just like was founded by Catholics way back in the day, and then now it's just a college. But in this, it seems like this is like a very Catholic school. Like you have to go to mass a certain number of times in a semester. They get like credits for going to mass and things like that. So it seems like this is a school that you only go to if you are Catholic. And her dad had subjected her to going to a church that doesn't approve of homosexuality, and everyone thought she was a sinner, and they were like trying to help her overcome her sins. So she has a lot of religious trauma. So being at this Catholic school is already very triggering for her and very difficult. So she doesn't really feel like making friends, and she is exploring the basement because she's heard that it's haunted, and she comes across a beautiful ghost, and she immediately feels drawn to that ghost. And then she also gets caught by a priest who is really mean and creepy. So she meets up with this ghost again, and she's so drawn to her. They start talking. She like is kind of obsessed with her. She feels like it's meant to be, that she was meant to be here to meet this ghost who's from 1921, by the way, which is funny because I just read a book about the 1920s and it was horror. Anyway, she and this ghost are like extremely drawn to each other. It's a little insta-love, which is not my favorite. There's reasons for it, but it's just like to read, like it's not like a flaw in the plot or anything like that. It's just like to read, it's not my favorite. But also she overhears some conversations where the priest is saying that she is going to be used in some ritual because she's gay, and they have to cleanse the campus of impurities and sins. So she tells her ghost, and the ghost is really concerned for her safety. So basically now she is trying to find out what's happening in order to save herself. And she also wants to set the ghost free because the ghost is trapped on campus. She can't move on in the afterlife or go anywhere else. So she wants to help the ghost, who she's starting a romantic relationship with, by the way, and she wants to save the other kids on campus. So that's pretty much where we are. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it. The writing, like I said, is not my favorite. It's like fine. But like there's a couple like little things that will get me. Like I think that the ghost character, she sounds to me a little bit more like she's speaking in like a Regency era kind of a sound, like not accurate Regency era, but like written for a modern audience Regency era, if that makes sense, instead of like 1920s. So it's like throwing me off a little bit, and there are just like other little things here and there that I'm not meshing with, but it's still like not enough to ruin it or like make me not want to continue reading it. So I'm very intrigued. So yeah, so I'm enjoying it enough, and I'm going to finish it, and I will let you know. Oh, also, there's really pretty art in the beginning. There's this, and I love that. I think I want books to do that more often. I've been seeing that a little bit lately. I love seeing what the characters look like. It's a lot of fun, so I hope this trend continues. Okay, I am back and I finished Fractured Shadows. Unfortunately, I ended up giving it a 2.5. I really, really, really wanted to love this. The concept was so cool. I was really into the idea of like a dark academia, mystery, kind of like cult situation that was also Sapphic. And the idea of a ghost romance seemed really cool. But unfortunately, the second half just didn't work for me. It felt like everything was really rushed. All the plot points were super rushed and there were a lot of plot holes. Like the magic system just wasn't consistent. The ghost can do magic and she is like a grimoire. It seemed like her abilities had more to do with just what was convenient for the plot versus like anything that was like set and decided. So like what she was capable of depended on whether it was convenient for her to be able to do something magical or for her to not be able to do something magical. And it seemed like there were situations where, you know, if she had done the thing that she was capable in a different scene, we wouldn't have any issues, but we couldn't do that because then the plot wouldn't have gone how they wanted it to go. I just think this needed a lot more refinement before it was written. There's just a lot that doesn't actually make sense once you get into the story, which is just such a bummer. And I'm really sad that this didn't work out, but glad I gave it a try anyway. I'm not going to be continuing in the series. It is what it is. You win some, you lose some, I suppose. And now on to the Beheading game, and I'm actually like almost 2/3 of the way into it at this point. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's feeling like a 4-star. I kind of doubt that anything like drastic is going to change that. I can't imagine my rating being like anything less than a 3.75 or any more than a 4.25. Like it feels pretty just like solidly a 4-star. So we have Anne Boleyn and she wakes up in a coffin wrapped in linen with her head at her knees, and she, you know, slowly realizes she's alive, figures out what's going on, takes her head, flees the tower, and goes off into one of the surrounding towns and sews her head back on and then tries to make her way. She's basically trying to pass off as a commoner and just obviously needing to hide her identity because she's supposed to be dead. And it's kind of a little bit of a coming of age story. Like she's learning about the world outside of her reality where she has always been really privileged. She's always been really rich, even though she is a woman and therefore her power is a lot more limited than it would have been if she was a man. She still comes from a place of great privilege. So she's kind of like growing as a person, learning about how other people live, gaining some empathy, gaining some perspective. I like the nuanced way that the author writes her. I mean, she's no angel. There are instances when she's really rude to people, when she's really selfish, when she's stuck up, things like that. But also she was doing her best in a cutthroat situation when she was living in the palace and serving as the queen. She was trying to make reforms that she thought would be good for the people, and also just trying to get more power for herself in a world where women really don't have power, just trying to survive, trying to do as well as she could for herself and her family. So this is really, a lot of it is just a character study because we're about half in the present day where she's has her head sewed back on and she wants to make her way back to Henry to kill him for revenge. And then half is her just kind of musing on her life before, you know, her childhood, what led up to her starting her affair with Henry, what happened after she became queen, and what led up to her trial and beheading. It is a bit slow. It's definitely more of a character study and more character driven than it is plot driven. And I think potentially, I've seen the ratings, they're like, it's like a 3.55, I think, on Goodreads, which is like medium low kind of. And I think it's probably just people coming in with different expectations. I mean, I haven't read a lot of the reviews. I usually don't like to read too many reviews until I finish something, unless I'm like really struggling, and then I'm like, am I the only person who's having like troubles with this? But in this, I'm not struggling, so I haven't wanted to look at negative reviews, but I'm kind of guessing that it's just expectations versus reality, because the way that it's pitched is like, sounds kind of like wacky, like a wacky revenge story where Anne Boleyn sews her head back on and tries to kill the king. But that's not the mood at all. It's pretty slow. It's really sad. In this story, we know that she wakes up and she's alive, but we know also that in real life, that's not what happened, that she was unjustly beheaded, that she was manipulated by Henry, as he did with all the rest of his wives, you know, just discarding them when they were no longer of use to him. And it's just sad. Like, it's just a bummer, even though in the book and in real life, probably, you know, Anne Boleyn is not an angel, but she did not deserve what happened to her. So it's a bummer reading it, honestly, just knowing that it is not the part where she wakes up, but knowing that it is based on history and that she's not the only woman, even that King Henry did this to, and that she's not the only woman who was taken advantage of and persecuted for things that she didn't do in this time period and others. It's really sad. So the pitch of it being like kind of wacky, it's just like not those vibes at all. Oh, and I forgot to mention, yes, this is queer. I saw it on another list before I started reading, so I was feeling pretty confident going into it. Yes, so she meets up with a common woman who works as a prostitute sometimes. And I'm saying prostitute, not sex worker, because they're saying prostitute in the book, because that's what they would have said at the time. So just to clear that up, under normal circumstances, I would say sex worker, but we're talking about the Tudor era. So yeah, she meets up with this woman named Alice. Alice is helping her. They kind of have some tension because, like I said, sometimes Anne is quite rude, and she thinks that she's better than everybody else because she's thinking, you know, I'm the Queen of England, technically, like maybe these other people don't know, but I'm better than everybody. And then of course she starts to grow as a person and appreciate the commoners, their way of life, things like that. Yes, this is queer. She is bi in this universe, so that's great. And that's like a nice little wholesome love story that's building amidst a lot of sad things. So yeah, it's like kind of like uplifting and wholesome with the coming of age and also the love story, but also it is just dealing with women being mistreated, which is a bummer. So it is more of a somber read. It is not kooky. There's like the one speculative aspect where she wakes up and sews her head back on, but aside from that, everything else is more of just like reimagined historical fiction. Like, what if Anne Boleyn escaped the tower before she could be beheaded? You know, something like that. So just if you really were like latched onto the idea of something speculative, something quirky, it's really not that. It's really just historical fiction. But if you're down for historical fiction and a character study of Anne Boleyn, then I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, if you, like me, also read The Other Boleyn Girl and other Philippa Gregory books back in the day, or saw the movie and you're like, wow, you know what? Haven't thought about the Tudors in a while. You know, maybe it's time to revisit if you enjoyed that media back then. So I'll probably finish it today and then I'll come back and let you know my final thoughts. Okay, I'm back and I finished the Beheading game and I really liked this. I landed on a 4, but I'm kind of like on the cusp of a 4.25. Like, I feel like I might bump it up after thinking about it for a while longer. It does get more speculative in the last third than it had been before I started on that last third. There's a long chunk kind of like after she wakes up and sews her head back on where it is pretty much straight historical fiction, aside from the fact that she has sewn her head back on. If you are wanting more speculative aspects to the story, they do come in the last third of the book. And I can definitely see how this isn't for everyone. If you really love speculative fiction and you wanted it to really, really lean into that, if you're really hoping that this leans into the speculative fiction aspect, I could see how you might be a little disappointed that it's maybe like 30% speculative to like 70% historical fiction. On the other hand, if you are a historical fiction reader, the amount of speculative fiction in this would probably turn you off if you just want like realism. So I can see how this has to be like for the right person, and I guess I am that because I enjoy the slower historical fiction character study of Anne Boleyn, while also being open to speculative elements that just aren't explained. I'm totally fine with that. That's definitely my style. So I liked this a lot. It's a little bit of like a good for her story. Something that I sometimes don't like about good for her stories are it seems like the same thing over and over again. Like it'll just be like one person committing violence against men who have wronged them. And while I'm like, good for her, I also, it's just like, it gets boring to me to just like read violent scenes over and over again. It just gets like kind of repetitive and a little boring. But this is not that. It's more of like a full study of her character, discussion of her past, coming of age story of Anne Boleyn, and then all building up to like a good for her moment. So this totally worked for me. I'm really happy with this. So yay. All right, so that is the end of my March queer new releases. I had 2 wins, one really big win with this 5-star and another really solid 4-star. I'm glad I tried this out. If this had worked for me, this would have been awesome to have as a series, but unfortunately it didn't work. But either way, I'm glad to have read some new releases the month they came out. And I am excited to do this again for you next month. I think I've got my 3 books locked in for April, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll see. And I will, whenever Thighs and Prayers is released, whenever I get my hands on that physical copy, I will definitely read it. And it will be included in that month's wrap up. So stay tuned for that. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, if they're books that you have on your TBR, what new releases this month you've read or that you're really excited about reading. Let me know in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Every month I'm planning to do a reading vlog of new queer releases that came out this month, so stick around if you would like to see that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.